Good evening and welcome back to 31 Horror Nights. It's October 6th and tonight's movie is Mockingbird. This movie is directed by a regular at Horror Nights by now, Brian Bertino. I have seen 3 of his movies and he has directed 4 movies, so I figured I might as well complete the set, especially considering that I liked those other 3 movies. The Brian Bertino formula seems to be take a very general idea for a horror movie, present it in a very, very basic story, and then fire on all cylinders when it comes to the execution of that. The other 3 of his movies that I've seen, The Strangers, The Monster, and The Dark and the Wicked, was doing that for home invasion movies, monster movies, and haunted house movies, respectively. This one seems to be that take on like a Saw Deadly Game type of thing, with the added bonus of being in the camera POV style. I know that more people use the term found footage, but the more of these movies I watch, the more I realize that is not the most accurate name for this style of filmmaking. From what I can tell, these 3 different people are given like a camera and the instructions just film yourself all the time and you'll get money or whatever. And if they stop filming, they die. I think I avoided watching this movie because the critics didn't like it. But again, the more of these movies I watch, the more that I come to realize that these professional movie critics that contribute to Rotten Tomatoes and like write for magazines, they're like game journalists. You should take their opinion with an entire Lot's wife pile of salt. I don't care. I'm going to watch it anyway. Let me go do that. I'm not mad, I'm just a little disappointed. It's just the fact that this movie was solid for almost the entire thing, and then they just fumbled the ending to an extent where I can't, in good conscience, give it a positive score. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. The plot is as I described. It's a husband and wife couple. Their kids are, I guess, staying with their uncle for the night. A young woman living alone. She's like a college student, and this older, like 30s looking guy who lives with his mom and seems to be in a rough place financially. When it comes to scares, this movie does fairly well in general. There are some of those standard ones, like that jump scare where it's getting built up for like 40 seconds, but since you don't know when they're going to let it loose, it gets you anyway, despite you knowing it's coming. Actually, now that I described that, I'm thinking like there should be like a scene in like a parody movie or like a satire movie of horror films where they do that build up for the jump scare. It's like the silence waiting for it to happen, but that goes on for like 2 minutes and they play it completely straight the whole time. But then again, in addition to that, they also do a scene where you're expecting a jump scare to happen the whole time. So you're still on edge, but then it doesn't happen. And that tension just sort of stays there. I think my favorite scare in the movie was one of the more, I don't want to say subtle, but more quiet types of ones, where one of them, the college age girl, she is living in some guest house. And since she's all alone, she can't really be dumping out exposition, talking to nobody, like from the sake of like immersion. So they have her talking on the phone with her mom. And this takes place in 1995. Everyone uses like landlines and stuff. And you only ever hear her side of this conversation. You're not close enough to hear the mother's words, but you can hear context clues and piece together more or less what the mom is saying. And then later in the movie, the people going after these people play like audio recordings outside their house to freak them out. And they play for that girl the audio of the mother's side of the conversation. They had recorded that phone call and were playing it back to her. And it takes a moment for you to register that that's what's happening. For the sake of this movie, it makes sense that for the storylines of the couple and the young woman, the tension just keeps getting ramped up throughout the entire night. But if it was just that the whole time with no breaks, it might get a little exhausting. So I guess to combat that, they had this third storyline with this other man, and his instructions and his night goes completely differently. He is told that if he does what these weird camera people say, he will get $10,000. And that involves dressing up as a clown with clown makeup and doing random things. It's basically like Impractical Jokers. And I have to say, for a movie that where it's in their best interest for things to stay as realistic as possible, I refuse to believe that that clown makeup stayed more or less intact all night. Not only by this man's build can I guess that he sweats more than the average man, he also was running around doing stuff in the rain. From what it looks like, it seems to be like water activated paints, which is basically like watercolor for skin. So, yeah, no way it only had a little bit of wear and tear by the time the night was over. I'd say for most of this movie, it does follow the Brian Bertino formula of a concept that's very simple, but it's executed very well. But I think that the ending was a misstep because they tried to have everything wrapped up in a neat little bow to the extent where it costed some sort of realism. And that's normally not the case at all. Normally in these movies, you don't know anything about the threat. Like, you don't know who these strangers in your house are. You don't know anything about this monster in the woods. You don't need to know about their methodologies or their motivations because that's not important. But without being too specific, the ending of this movie took several notable leaps in logic in order to give us answers I don't think we ever needed. If you like camera POV horror movies, or if you like Brian Bertino movies, you're probably going to be entertained for most of this film, but I thought the ending was a little disappointing. And I'm going to go into spoilers now because I want to talk about that. We, for most of this movie, are not shown any information about whoever, whatever entity or entities are doing this to these characters. We don't see them, we don't hear from them. We get the impression that they are the ones who are editing this movie because there are title cards in it that are in the same style as videotapes that were given to the victims that they played on their TVs. And clearly they were edited by the same people. And the thing that really convinces these characters that this is serious is a clip they're shown that is the first thing the audience ever sees. It shows whoever or whatever is doing this going into a person's house. And I thought that this person was a woman because I heard some very shrill shrieking. But when the doors opened and the bathroom is entered, it's actually revealed to be a boy. And he gets shot in the forehead. And I don't know. One of the things that felt kind of weird to me was one of the things that they wanted to hammer home is that if you stop recording, you die. But these cameras are modified so they don't turn off. Like, they started recording from the very beginning. Once they got in the box, they didn't even know what was going on. They picked up the camera. It's like, oh, what's this? So we saw all of that. And we saw both the couple and the young woman trying to turn off the camera and not being able to. So this would be a group of people or single person who is able to modify a camera so that it doesn't turn off anymore and it's just continuously recording. So the idea of don't stop recording or else you'll die, I mean, what choice do they have? It was the same thing where, like, don't call the police, but they cut the phone line anyway. So not really much of a point to saying that. I understand why they said you need to record all the time because it's revealed that these are broadcasting the video to the people doing this to them. So the reason why they're able to know what's happening so well is because they're being shown all of it through the video. And when you see all the things that happen in this movie, the only real options left are this is a supernatural entity of some sort, or this is a group of people who are hackers, are skilled at home invasions, have a lot of skills, put a lot of time and energy into this for no particular reason, or at least none that I could discern, and are deciding to go after these three people or three groups of people. I was never expecting us to learn the truth of that matter because that wasn't really how the other movies went. One thing I do like in found footage movies or camera POV movies is when the camera gets dropped on the ground and then someone picks it up and you don't know who that is. And especially if you get the impression that it was the villain this whole time, some force you haven't even seen. That does happen at the very end of this movie. But before that, we have a scene that I have several notes concerning. The young woman lives in like a guest house to some other people, and the final destination of this movie, something Mockingbird Street or whatever, is the main house. And she's let in there, and the clown guy is let in there, and the couple is let there. The couple and the young woman are led there because they are led to believe that their lives are on the line or the lives of the kids of the couple are on the line. and the clown guy is going there because he thinks he's going to get $10,000. For the couple and the college girl, this has been a horrible night of terror and dread. But for the clown guy, it was just kind of like a weird night out. He did a bunch of weird things, and he thinks he's going to get a big paycheck at the end of it all. And I was able to put together what was intended with this because it's getting these two people or three people in this one place, have them as tense and as afraid as they're ever going to be, give them both guns, and see what happens when they're put there with each other. But then they also got the clown guy sitting at a table saying, jump out and surprise them, basically. So, okay, something's going to happen and they're going to shoot him dead. And I was kind of expecting like that to happen, and like they get one final message. It was like, "You killed this man, hide the body," or something like that. But again, this is me going back to the idea of them trying to wrap everything up and put a bow on everything to a bit too much of an extent. Because somehow, in this 1 second after the clown guy bursts out, and by the way, he was in the room right next to them. There was a curtain separating to them. The couple and the woman were screaming at each other for like 40 seconds before then. I do not understand how he didn't hear that. But what I understand even less is that somehow in this like one moment, 4 gunshots are fired and 4 people get shot dead. The only people who had guns were the college age girl and the man of the couple. The logistics of how that could have happened in such a short time with nobody really knowing what's going on. And I'm pretty sure that these are both revolvers. These are not semi-automatic guns. You had to cock it if you wanted to shoot it again. I'm just saying my idea of one or both of the parties shooting the clown guy who bursts in and shooting him dead because they're so afraid, that felt a lot more realistic than what the movie actually gave me. And then someone picks up the camera, and I like it when they do this in movies. I mentioned that already, but the house is filled with balloons. There's like thousands of red balloons in this house. The amount of time it would have taken to set this up is a little bit more noticeable when you see in the reflection of one of the balloons that this looks like a person. This is not some supernatural force doing it, which is what I assumed. And then they go further by revealing a few other people who were in on it. And all of them look like they are younger than the age of like 17. Like they all look like kids. And I'm not saying kids aren't capable of very impressive stuff, but the fact that this is 1995 and this is like technology, and the fact that they had to coordinate this all and time this all and make this all work so well, and they only had one shot to do it, that again feels a lot less realistic than what I was expecting. Especially by watching this director's other movies, I know that he understands that some questions are best left unanswered, and I think he made the wrong call when it comes to which questions were supposed to be answered in this movie. I don't think it was like a bad movie overall. It didn't make me upset. I just think that they fumbled the ending. So, what you gonna do? This definitely isn't enough to make me question my opinion that Brian Bertino is a very skilled horror movie director who has this really cool niche. And I'm happy that I saw this movie because it was interesting, at least. All right, thank you for listening. I'll see you tomorrow.